Hello, I hope you're doing well today. My name's Juliet Uzor and I'm here with a pattern adaptation for the open back dress. For this design, you'll be able to download the sewing pattern and find the full sewing instructions on the Prim website. The adaptation would involve opening up the back of the dress and adding buttonholes and buttons just to change up the look. Also, beautiful darts will be added to both sides of the back of the dress. The darts will be 1 centimeter apart and they will not be very large darts. They will be they're just there as a style line to the back of the dress. On the website, you'll find the recommended fabric weights for this design. So go ahead, gather your fabric, your sewing kit and all your pattern making resources. I'll have them here on the screen. Get ready, let's adapt and make this dress. You can see here, I have traced out my size of this sewing pattern onto a plain sheet of paper. We will only need the back pattern piece of this dress and the back facing of the dress. Stick on some pattern paper to the center back edge of the dress. In order to accommodate the 1.5 centimeter wide buttons that I have for this design, we are going with a 4 centimeter wide extension of the center back of the dress. This 4 centimeter extension would also accommodate the button stand that would go on both sides of the back of the dress. The line that you draw also needs to be parallel to the grain line on the sewing pattern. This same extension would have to happen on the back facing sewing pattern piece. You can either measure it out using a ruler or you can trace it using a tracing wheel. Moving on to the darts. First things first, you would need to locate the waist notch on the back of the sewing pattern. Draw the waistline, but make sure that the waistline is perpendicular to the grain line of the dress. Starting from the original cutting line of the sewing pattern, locate the midpoint of the waistline. Then you need to make markings which are 1 centimeter apart from each other. So in total, you would have 4 little markings, each measuring 1 centimeter in between them. The middle 1 centimeter marking would be the separation between the two darts, which means that you would need to draw a line which would be perpendicular to the waistline. If you have a look here, you would see that I am measuring out 12 centimeters into the bodice and 15 centimeters down into the skirt of the dress. With these lines drawn through the midway point of each dart, you can go ahead and draw those diagonal lines which are also called the dart legs. Do not forget to transfer any markings onto the extended parts of the center back. From this point onwards, you could go ahead and follow the instructions that have been written to accompany this beautiful sewing pattern. Before you do anything to the back of the dress, remember to transfer the dart markings onto the fabric, the wrong side of the fabric. A little tip that I have here for you is try your best to fill up at least 2 bobbins using the thread that you are going to be using for your project, just to make sure that when you are mid-project and getting on with the groove of things, you do not have to stop and fill a bobbin and rethread your sewing machine. When you are ready to work on the back sewing pattern, you would need to sew the darts first by pinching in the darts, following the guidelines that have been marked, pinning them together and stitching the darts. As part of this sewing pattern's instructions on the website, you are required to stitch together the center back edge of the facings. Well, in this scenario, you would have to leave those open. So after stitching the front to the back facing at the shoulder seams, you would need to press them open and get them pinned directly to the neckline of the dress. Stitch the neckline, grade or trim. Clip into the seam allowance, especially seeing as this is a curved neckline. Understitch the seam allowance to the facing. And press the neckline for a clean finish. Another tip I have for you is to secure the facing to remain on the inside or the wrong side of your dress by stitching the facing to your dress at the shoulder seam. So in order to make sure the stitches are invisible, you would need to do a stitch in the ditch, which means your stitches go directly into the seam in order to secure the facing to the dress. This adds to giving your garment a clean finish. Cut out 2 pieces of 3 cm wide interfacing, which would need to be fused to the center back edges of your dress on the wrong side. From the wrong side, fold in 1/2 centimeter and press, then fold in 2 centimeters and press. This would create our button stands. It also needs to happen on both sides of the dress back pieces. Go ahead and top stitch the button stand in place and hem your dress if you haven't at this point. Women's garments normally have buttonholes on the right hand side, so on the back right hand side you would need to mark out the lengths of your buttonholes depending on what size buttons you select for your dress. The number of buttonholes you decide to create will totally depend on your style. If you would prefer a longer opening, you would have fewer buttons, but if you would like a shorter opening, you would need more buttons and buttonholes. With these markings made on your nearly finished garments, stitch on some buttonholes. But do not forget to do a test run before you actually start stitching your buttonholes. I have this tip, which is to apply some fray check, which would help to reduce the amount of fraying that could happen in your buttonholes. Mark your button positions. Stitch on your buttons either by hand or using a sewing machine. check that your buttons are sitting exactly where you want them to sit, and enjoy your new dress. So here we are. I absolutely love this dress. The color is just so much fun. And I love the way the darts just cinched in the back of the dress, just that tiny little bit. And oh, do you know what it reminds me of? The dopamine trend for the current season. And I mean, if you got value from this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I will see you in another video in the future. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and all the very best. Take care. Bye.